I Want My MTV, and we're about to get it on this brand new episode of Totally 80s and 90s Recall. Hello and welcome. If you're new to this show, we are so excited that you found us. And for returning listeners, it's great to have you back. Well, if you love all things 80s and 90s, from music and movies to television and pop culture, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, David, joined as always by my good friend, Rob.
Thanks, Dave. It's an honor to be here.
It is an honor to be here. So I always think that when we record any podcast, honor to be here. Well, Rob,
I've always wanted to use that opening.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So you saved it all these years for me.
Yeah. If I was ever a guest on a show, I wanted to say that.
This is your show. You're not a guest.
Well.
All right. Well, this is an exciting day. For our 12th episode, we are recording for the first time, and undeservingly for sure, from a brand new actual studio. Our very own Al Borland over here, Rob, has sacrificed like a quarter of his home workshop and built from scratch with his own bare hands a studio for the show. How big are our egos that after 11 episodes, we thought we can't keep recording in this tiny spare bedroom. We are now popular enough that we should have our own studio, and anything less would be uncivilized.
It was worth it. It was worth every minute.
Every minute. Yeah, it took you several weeks, but we're in it, the first stages of it.
And I think maybe I'm living vicariously through this. I always wanted a clubhouse.
Yeah.
As a kid.
So now we have
an
electronic clubhouse.
I have a reason to have a clubhouse as an adult.
We don't have any. It's not in a tree. If you could have got it in a tree, then that would have been real good. Then it would have been like a podcasting clubhouse.
I didn't think about that. So, we could have done it in a tree.
Done it in a tree.
Yeah.
I'm sure your wife would have thought that would have been real safe. 40-plus-year-olds climbing a tree to go record every day. That would have been the first podcast that's done in a tree. Yeah, that could have been our thing.
Yeah.
Coming to you from a tree. So I don't know if anyone else records from a tree, but that would be the first. Well, on this podcast, Rob and I will travel back to the 2 decades that shaped not only our lives, but influenced the world for generations that followed. Each episode, we will develop and discuss lists of selected topics, or perhaps identify a significant event, movie, or whatever we recall from growing up in the 80s and 90s, hopefully providing some awesome memories, fun, and nostalgia along the way. With all that, Rob, what topic will we be covering for this episode?
Yeah, so for this episode, we are looking at our favorite videos of the 80s. Music videos. Of the 80s.
The decade of music videos, in my opinion. I mean, other decades have had music videos, but
absolutely true.
I would say prior to the 80s, there weren't music videos. I'm sure bands taped themselves like in a concert or doing something on stage. But as far as making actual videos, that wasn't a thing, because in the 80s, MTV showed up. Mm-hmm. And MTV was that is one of the staples of the 80s as a cultural phenomenon.
Right. Yeah, I think it probably would have been like talk shows. Some of the famous talk shows. I can't think.
Ed Sullivan Show.
The Beatles and stuff.
Beatles, putting all them on. Dick Cavett, I think, had a show. Yeah. Of course, Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Right? So, but MTV was like, when it came out, it became a thing. In fact, the way it changed, in my opinion, it changed music, because it came to a point that if you got on MTV and your video became popular, that's what got you went into the stratosphere. Then they played you more on the radio, and you just became super famous.
Yeah. Well, in one of our previous ones, if I remember right, it was Paula Abdul. Straight up, if I remember when I was doing my research for that song, that her song wasn't even on the radio yet. It got its popularity by being a video first, and then it went radio airplay.
Yeah, so that's how it became a thing. I read a thing that, Duran Duran had albums out, and then when they started making videos, people saw them and then they liked them. That was another thing, is if you hadn't gone to a concert previously, or maybe looked on an album or a record jacket, you didn't always know even what the band looked like. And then you got a video, and all of a sudden 2 videos, the band started being prettier. more hair. They were well groomed. For the males, they were very handsome. For females, very attractive. That started to become a thing. And I even saw a documentary where there were certain late 70s, early 80s artists, like Christopher Cross mentioned this, that he said, I was not video friendly. And so my airplay went down because I could not get on MTV.
Yeah. What was that famous CNC Music Factory where the gal that was singing the song was played by a different gal on the video?
Yeah. So they had a attractive woman.
She wasn't
she was
video friendly.
She was what I'll say sensitively was considered a bigger woman.
She was a bigger woman.
She sang on the It's Raining Men from the late 70s. And they replaced her with a more attractive version. But you could say that about Milli Vanilli too. There was two models.
True.
They threw into lip sync because it looked better on the video.
That's right.
Well, video may have killed the radio star, but it gave us a new way to rock out in the 80s. So let's go back and check out our favorite music videos. Hey, it's David here. Along with producing our own podcast, Rob and I love listening and experiencing other podcasts and creators. So today we want to feature a great 80s, 90s, and early 2000s podcast that will give you some nostalgia and make you feel good. It is the Pop Culture Retrospective podcast starring Amy Lewis. And without further ado, enjoy this trailer for her podcast.
This is Amy Lewis, and I am the host of the Pop Culture Retrospective podcast. I started my show in the spring of 2020 to deal with the grief that came along with the unexpected and tragic loss of my big sister, Rebecca. I wanted a way to remember her and tell our story of growing up together. So, with each episode, I take a deep dive into the pop culture of our childhood and adolescence from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. From the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to the 90s tween shows of Nickelodeon to the history of Nintendo to the story of the Sony Walkman, the Pop Culture Retrospective podcast focuses on the backstory behind the music, movies, TV shows, fashions, electronics, and toys that have made Gen X and elder millennials some of the best generations ever. You can find the Pop Culture Retrospective podcast on all major podcast platforms and at www.popcultureretrospective.com.
Well, I'm sorry to report that Billie Jean is in fact not my lover. So while I figure that out, Rob, cue up your number 10 video.
Well, my number 10 is Hungry Like a Wolf by Duran Duran. It was June of 82.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Some things about this. It was very much of a Raiders of the Lost Ark feel to it. Opens with Simon Le Bon, the lead singer. He's in the villages and jungles of Sri Lanka. That's where it was filmed.
Yeah.
Very cinematic. You had jungles, you had rivers.
Was it actually filmed in Sri Lanka?
It was.
Oh,
It actually was, yeah. The Andy Taylor, one of the band members, says, it's Indiana Jones is horny and wants to get laid.
Yeah.
That's the
100%
of the and a little side note, I just learned that last November, Andy Taylor revealed that he'd been diagnosed with incurable stage 4 metastatic prostate cancer.
Wow. We're trying to provide some entertainment here, and you just come in with a vibe killer.
Well, there you go.
Immediately.
Yeah, so shout out to Andy Taylor, who, that's sad news. But let's see, his bandmates are looking for him. There's a close-up of it. He's wearing an amulet.
Yes.
So there's a close-up of his amulet. He's constantly without a shirt.
Constantly.
Or he's wearing the classic suit coat with no shirt.
No shirt. If you look like Simon, you'd run around with no shirt on either. So.
And then there was the scarf around the head.
He had good hair.
They're always sweaty.
Very sweaty.
And as the video goes on, he gets more disheveled.
Yeah.
He's
running around in the woods. Of course,
and he
disheveled.
gets more tribal. His bandmates they're looking for him, but then they get distracted by some local ladies of the night.
First of all, I've seen that video. His bandmates are not making a great effort to look for him.
No,
they're in a market or something. And He's out in the woods with some tiger lady.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, he's parched. He gets left for dead on a riverbed. A local native boy finds him. There's a mysterious painted woman.
Yes.
In the background, always kind of lurking
hanging
about. At some point, Simon goes full native and he emerges out of the river.
Yeah.
So kind of an apocalypse now sort of scene, right? He becomes more delirious as he runs through the jungle. There's these flashbacks. I don't know if they're flashbacks or flash forwards. I can't really tell. The painted woman and Simon meet and engage in a strange fight.
Yeah, it's something.
In the jungle. He takes a scratch to the neck and it fades out with them fighting.
I would say, I would like to know what the end of that is, but they cut you off pretty pretty suddenly for the video. But
Yeah.
those videos had to be like 4 minutes or less.
Yeah.
But that's a perfect example of almost not even paying attention to the song because of everything else that's going on around it, because it's such a dramatic video. So,
but it won the first Grammy Award for Best Short Form Music Video in 1984. So it was kind of
really good.
But it was kind of what we said earlier. They were not making a that's hit in the U.S.
They were not.
And then that video really kind of
launched them into the stratosphere because they became one of those bands in the 80s.
Yeah. So
that's
my number 10.
That's a good start. Well, my number 10 is Like a Prayer by Madonna. So to begin with, this is a great song. I've always really liked this song. And that's half the reason I like a video. Next, Madonna is looking good in this video. This came out in 1989, and I'm 13 years old, and she's checking all the right boxes at this point. She's looking good.
Is that the one with the crosses?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that was kind of...
This video was a big deal and really actually controversial. The video shows burning crosses, as you just said. Madonna romantically embracing an African-American religious symbol, and there's images of stigmata. So the Catholic Church actually called for this to be boycotted, and Pepsi dropped her as a client. She had a huge contract. Through all that, I think it's a memorable video and probably something people read too much into, as usual. Fun fact, the producer did not like the verse, "When you call my name, it's like a little prayer. I'm down on my knees. I want to take you there," as he thought it could be confused for oral sex. But Madonna refused to remove or reword it, saying people could interpret it however they wanted.
That I had read that was what that song was about.
So she has said that's not what the song is about. But she said that if people want that interpretation, she's okay with it. So because it could, and just as the producer said, it got confused for that. So, but Like a Prayer, pretty controversial, but memorable video from the 80s.
That was right around the time, was it Open Your Heart?
Open Your Heart.
Where she does the strip tease and the little kid. I
think that was a little before this one, but she
was looking good at this time.
She's looking good. Go back and watch that video. She's looking real good.
She's not looking good right now.
No.
She looks rough.
We'll go ahead and live in the 80s with that one.
Yeah.
So.
All right. That's a good one. Great song. My number 9 is We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister.
Nice.
That's April of 1984. This is...
real quick, in 84, you're like 6 years old?
6, yeah.
So you're definitely in that mood of like, I'm not going to take it.
Yes.
Telling your parents.
Yeah.
They're like, eat your dinner. I'm not going to take that.
Age-old story, right? Rebellion. Youth rebellion at 6 years old.
6 years old.
Right. April of 84. It opens with a family eating dinner at the table. The son asks to be excused. He goes up to his room. He starts playing some Twisted Sister. The father goes up and starts berating him. It's kind of a military style. He refers to his uniform.
Yeah.
You've got the pins on your uniform or something.
You know what that's kind of a play on, right?
Well, it's Animal House.
Well, the dad was in Animal House.
Yeah, and I've never seen it.
Niedermeyer was his name.
Yes.
And of course you haven't seen it. Why would you see good movies?
I haven't seen it. But, Douglas C. His name in the video is Douglas C. And
Well, one of his lines in Animal House is he says, "Is that a pledge pin on your uniform?"
Yes,
so I think they were kind of recapturing that for the video.
It actually said that his name is Douglas C. And in the movie, his name is Douglas C. Niedermeyer. So that's probably,
correct.
When he's berating his son, he calls the guitar that electric twanger.
Electric twanger.
That was good. And then as the father said, what do you want to do with your life? And he says, I want to rock. And he strums his guitar and he blows dad out the window. And then the rest of the video, and then all the kids turn into the bandmates. And then the rest of the video is the dad trying to hamper the bandmates' life, and he's getting blown through windows.
Dee Snider's got that sweet, crimped, teased
it was
blonde
bad
hair.
And that, I think there's an example of the visual element.
Oh, yeah.
Where there was no other reason to dress like that other than a visual,
just for people to notice it. That's all.
Age-old story of youth rebellion. They were overtly different. And I said, kind of, I don't think it's changed. You look at today's music and you have people like, what's her name that wore the meat dress?
Is that Lady Gaga?
Lady Gaga,
there
right?
You go.
So it's no different. It's shock value.
I like that we were able to work Lady Gaga in, because people who listen to this know, even though we're old, it's not like we stopped paying attention to things, right? I don't like all the music now, but I do know it. So for all you out there that think I'm senile, I'm not. I do pay attention. I know who The Weeknd is. So that's a good one.
And that's when I remember that was a heavy airplay.
Oh yeah,
playing on
a lot
MTV
of makeup and a lot of hair in that video.
And I was thinking too that a lot of these people we're going to probably talk about in these videos, now that I'm a parent and I'm older than my parents were at the time when I was the kid, right? They were critical of Dee Snider and Twisted Sister, and here I am.
They were evil,
right? And now I'm a parent. I'm listening to some of the stuff my kids are listening to. I'm like, what is that?
I think
that's not music.
Well, we don't want to do that. I want to turn into Clint Eastwood sitting on a porch, get off my lawn.
I don't think that's. I think it's inevitable.
I try to have an open mind about these things. Well, that's a good one. This video at my number 9 tells you exactly who to call, and it is Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr. This is an all-time 80s song, but the video is also very memorable. I looked at it, and basically this video has 3 parts. First, Ray Parker is singing in a neon house, which is as 80s as it gets, and he's chasing a girl in a nightgown, I guess because it's at night and ghosts would be around at night. Second, they show you like 75% of the movie in the clips throughout the movie while they're running around and they're not in the neon house. And third, this is the crazy part. They have stars lip syncing Ghostbusters. So when they say who you going to call and you go Ghostbusters, they actually have these cameos of all these stars, but it is the weirdest array of stars I've ever seen. So I watched this and I got all it. So John Candy, Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura on Little House, Jeffrey Tambor, George Wendt, Norm from Cheers, Al Franken, Danny DeVito, Carly Simon, Terry Garr, Peter Falk, who played Columbo, and Chevy Chase. It's just a weird group of, what are all these people doing around? All I can figure is, while they were filming, these folks were just hanging around on the sets or somewhere around not filming, so they threw them in. And, Harold Ramis and them are like, hey, you want to be in the video? Sure, why not? Because it's the oddest array of stars I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't remember the video. I remember the movie obviously very well. Yeah. But the video, I don't. I just remember him. He was dressed as Ghost. He was in one of the uniforms.
He's wearing a suit. So he's like trying to save this girl in the house, although it looks like he's chasing her, but that's fine. And then they just show movie clips, and then you have the stars doing the lip sync at the end, which again, it's just a wider range of odd 80s stars. So, but yeah, Ghostbusters. Great movie, great video, great song. Probably one of the most iconic things of the 80s you could probably think of. So,
absolutely. That's a good one. My number, what are we on? Number 8?
Number 8.
Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper.
September of 83.
You like this video because you're a big Captain Lou fan.
Hey, no, so she dances with her buttoned-up lawyer leading a cast of characters through this kind of conga line type thing through New York City. And eventually they end up in her bedroom. And as there's this whole crowd of people, and there's a cone head, there's a fireman, there's nurses, there's Captain Lou Albano, the wrestling. But some fun facts about this video: it was shot in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. It only cost $35,000, which
it looks like it only cost.
Yeah, in 2021 that would have been $95,000. It was a volunteer cast that included Captain Lou Albano, her real mother, didn't know that, her attorney, her manager, her brother, fellow musicians, and then secretaries borrowed from the record label. Lorne Michaels gave Lauper's team access to state-of-the-art digital editing equipment.
Perfect.
And it was some of the first computer-generated images in a video.
Nice.
And they weren't good.
They weren't good.
I think it was the bubbles. They were like these bubble things that float around.
The best they could do then.
And then it officially crossed the 1 billion views on YouTube in January of 2022.
That's a lot.
So,
You know how Captain Lou ended up there? She had a whole arc in the 80s.
Yeah.
Where she was wrestling.
I read that.
Against Jerry the King Lawler.
I didn't know that.
It was Roddy Piper. I apologize. So she wrestled at WrestleMania against Roddy Piper, and it was a tag team with her and Lou Albano. So
yeah, I read that.
For some reason, she ended up in the wrestling world for a little while, but when you're that famous, you can go do whatever you want.
But yeah, I thought there's another one. Age-old issue of youth rebellion and women's rights, and girls just want to have the same equality and recognition as boys in society. So, yeah,
You like the rebellion videos. This seems to be a
Yes,
theme.
it was kind of a theme, right? In a lot of these videos,
Yeah.
they were, busting away from popular culture.
Yeah.
So,
Well, girls just want to have fun. Can't go wrong with that, I
Yeah.
guess. Well, if you want to be motivated to run through a wall in the 1980s, my number 8 will get that done. It is Eye of the Tiger by Survivor.
wow.
Again, this is a classic 80s song like Ghostbusters, but the video just symbolizes early 80s style videos, and I laugh and I love it. First of all, the lead singer has a beret. Can't go wrong with a beret. So it's a great start. They do the classic, they're walking down the street, and as one person walks, another member from the band acts like they just saw them, so they join in. And eventually they're all four just walking down the street together. And they end up in a garage playing their instruments, which is, it seems like the right way to end that. They're walking on the street is really odd, though, because they have way too much arm swing, or one guy's not even got any arm swing. It looks like they're trying too hard to walk. But in the garage is fantastic. The keyboard player steals the show. He is just way too excited the whole time. It ends with them on a regular stage outside the garage. They've changed their clothes, still have a beret, but they're wet now. They don't even show why they got wet. They're just wet. It's just a lot, but it's funny and great to watch. The transitions are fantastic.
There's no lead up as to why they were wet.
No, they go from the garage and then they end up on stage and they're in like gold and they're real shiny, but then they're also wet. And the keyboard player in that, you should watch that video for nothing else than the keyboard. I've never seen a keyboard player more excited to be in a video than that guy. He is just going in at 1,000%. But Eye of the Tiger, Survivor. What I liked is no Rocky, no boxing whatsoever. We're just going to film ourselves walking down the mean streets. I think they're in Philly, but they're walking down the mean streets, end up in a garage. It's gritty. It's great. It's 80s. I love it.
So why wouldn't they have capitalized on the Rocky in that video? Like,
First of all,
or was it? Did it come out before Rocky? Or
no, they're Survivor. They don't need Rocky.
They don't need Rocky.
They are already famous enough. In fact, Rocky, you're welcome that we're letting you use this song. So,
Wow, they were confident.
And this is Rocky 3, which is a great Rocky.
Oh,
You're
that
talking
wasn't-
Clubber
yeah.
Lang. This is the good one. You got the great montage on the beach. We'll get some Rocky later in our lives, but yeah, really good.
Which one's with the Drago?
That's
Is that
4.
That's 4. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't know my
See,
Rockies.
that's not good. Again,
I don't know my Rockies.
when our loyal listeners listen to this and they're like, this guy's an 80s, 90s guy. He doesn't even know Rocky 3 and Rocky 4. We're just going to add that to the list of things you apparently don't know. So
But what? Yeah, no, yeah. Then that would be a fair criticism.
your list of things you know to what you don't know, they're an odd mix.
It is.
Definitely.
That is true.
It's okay.
All right.
Number 7.
My number 7. When Doves Cry. Prince.
Prince. I have no Prince, so I'm happy to say that.
You don't have any Prince on your list? Wow. I thought we were going to have some crossover.
I will
thought
do
there would be-
a hot take and see if we get any blowback on this. But if you told me, if I could tell you there was one overrated person from the 80s, for me it would be Prince. Everyone just thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread, and I like some of his songs, but I'm not all like he's the greatest thing ever.
No, at my last job, I had a 45-minute commute, and I was challenging myself to listen to different artists' catalog, and he was one of them. And I would just plug in an album, and I would listen to it, and Purple Rain was about the only one that I enjoyed. The rest of it, I couldn't.
What about Diamonds and Pearls?
No,
Come on.
no.
Cream?
What was that? What was it? What was his new band? Wasn't the
Power Generation?
Power or something?
Something like that?
Anyway, this premiered on MTV in June of '84. It opens with white doves emerging from double doors to reveal Prince in a bathtub.
Perfect.
Lots of purple.
Yeah.
A seemingly naked Prince crawls across the floor.
Crawls.
A veiled Prince is superimposed in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, looking at himself in the mirror, and a picture of his father, also bare-chested. A sad Prince walks along a lake shore. Lots of montage from the movie Purple Rain, and he's throwing rocks in the. He's lonely.
Yeah, it's good.
Lots of leather. He's got a matching motorcycle. Shows him performing songs in various scenes. At the 3-minute mark, the video switches to the band, The Revolution, in a white room. The keyboard player is dressed like a nurse. I didn't understand that. Stethoscope and everything.
Yeah.
He's startled as the doors open and doves fly in. There's synchronized dancing. There's lots of buttons. So many buttons on their outfits.
So many buttons.
It's an inappropriate amount of lace and scarves.
First of all, he never had too much lace or scarves.
Oh my
that was his
gosh.
thing.
It looks like somebody stole grandma's curtains. They do this weird mirrored effect, and it fades out with a drawing of a woman's face, and it sheds a single purple tear.
Oh, yeah. You want to see a good Prince video, go watch Bat Dance
Oh, yeah.
for the Batman video.
He had some great hair in that one.
His face was painted like half and half like
Yeah.
the Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
It
good
was
one.
directed by Prince. Some fun facts. It sparked controversy among network executives who thought that it was too sexually explicit. I didn't really
What's
get that.
funny about them saying that is you watch it now and you're like, sorry guys, what you thought was sexually explicit in the 80s is wildly not at all.
No.
So,
Number 37 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time.
yeah.
And then according to, let's see. The video was nominated for Best Choreography at 1985's MTV Music Awards.
Yeah, it's Prince. He was so popular on MTV, they just nominated him for
I
stuff.
could have done that.
I know. But you're not Prince.
It was like every seventh grade dance. It was step right, step
I'm going to
left,
go ahead and
step
say
right.
you couldn't do that, but I like your enthusiasm that you
could've.
think you could do the same thing Prince did.
He didn't do anything.
Come on. He did something.
They're like it's a glorified line dance.
I don't love
could've
Prince,
done
but he did something. You couldn't have done it.
Okay.
doubt-
I could have.
I would bet you my car you couldn't have done it. So, 1,000%.
Best choreo.
Well, it's good.
All
Prince.
right. All right.
Prince, when doves cry.
What's your number 7?
Number 7 is We Built This City on Rock and Roll by Starship.
What?
So first, this is just a great song. Again, my criteria for videos is the song good, and this is a good song.
That was from a movie.
No, that wasn't from.
Was it in a movie? It was featured.
Long later. The only movie I'm remembering it's featured in, it was in that Muppets movie a few years back with Jason Segel. That Mannequin had.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Mannequin had the other Starship song, so maybe you're getting confused. But
Yeah.
so this video is odd, but somehow satisfying. It starts on an empty grass
Odd,
hill.
but satisfying.
It is. It starts on an empty grass hill, and they shadow in the band over the hill, so they're superimposing with like a green screen. It's strange for sure, but again, somehow works. This has everything you need from an 80s video. Freeze frames, superimposed faces by the singer, Abe Lincoln singing. In fact, it's the same Abe Lincoln that was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, the same actor. They end up in Vegas, San Francisco. They're on the Golden Gate Bridge. The drummer's playing on what looks like a hazmat drum. And Grace Slick, who's the female singer in the band, she looks shocked and surprised every time she's singing. So it's like she didn't even know the camera was going to show up on her face. She just looks like I'm stunned that I have to do these lyrics right now. I was like, who didn't give her the memo that we were filming a video today? Because every time the video hits her face, it's like the first time she's ever seen a camera. I'm not sure what's going on there, but it's got everything in it. It makes no sense, just like the 80s to me. And so it's a wonderful video.
Your description of it reminds me of something Stefan would have done on SNL.
It has everything.
It has everything you need.
It does.
A midget wearing a fedora.
It does. It has everything.
And you're like, it has Abe Lincoln.
It did. It had Abe Lincoln. Abe Lincoln.
I thought you were kidding.
Sings. No, they go to the Lincoln Memorial. He stands up and starts singing to this group of people, and it's the same Abe Lincoln from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And then he sits back down. So I was like, as soon as Abe Lincoln sang, I was sold, because it's just now it's Starship, it's rock and roll,
boy.
It's America. Everything works.
Everything you need in an 80s video.
The video literally makes no sense, and I love every second of it. So
Golly.
solid.
Didn't
solid
Jefferson's Starship, but they had a couple different. They were
they were
Jefferson Starship.
Starship.
Jefferson.
They changed it from time to time, but they just put out hits. They said, we don't care what our name is. We just put out hits.
That's right. Grace Slick.
Grace Slick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who had no idea they were filming a video that day. She was shocked every time the camera was on her face.
Maybe. Well, and I could see her being. I've got a pic coming up here that she was probably like anti-video.
Yeah. What am I doing?
What is a video?
Oh, well.
What is it? Why are we doing
I
this?
did read something later that she thought that was the most horrible video
Yeah.
that was ever recorded. I disagree with her. I don't care if it's her band. I still like it. So in this case, I'm going to go with I know better than her.
Well, that's a good segue, because my number 6 has a lot of things that an 80s video needs, but it's Land of Confusion
Oh, yeah.
by Genesis, and that was November of '86.
Puppet video.
Oh my gosh. My note card here has more than I can read, but it opens with a caricature of Ronald Reagan. I read that it was from a popular British television show.
With the puppets?
The puppets. And so they got them to do it. But Nancy Reagan and a monkey, they're going to bed. He's holding a teddy bear. He kisses them goodnight. He kind of goes into this night.
Wait a minute. You went faster.
Oh, sorry.
You have Nancy Reagan and a monkey going to bed?
Yeah. Perfect. So the video opens with a character of Ronald Reagan, our 40th president, Nancy Reagan, and a monkey going to bed.
Oh, so it's a threesome.
Yes.
That's what he did.
He's Reagan's holding a teddy bear. He kisses the monkey goodnight, falls into kind of this nightmare thing, and then the rest of the video is kind of this nightmare premise.
You say that way too easy. He kisses the monkey goodnight.
Yeah.
Like that's just what you would do. That's not what you do.
Oh no, it gets crazy. There's a line of marching combat boots. You see political figures. There's Jimmy Carter, Margaret Thatcher. There's Soviet politicians. There's so then there's puppet versions of the band.
Is this supposed? It's supposed to be like a message, right?
Yeah,
but it looks silly.
It does.
Yeah.
In another part of the video, you see Mussolini. You see Gorbachev. You got Reagan wearing a Superman suit running through the streets. You have Reagan on a Triceratops.
It's of course on a Triceratops
watching a television show.
So real quick, we've got him kissing a monkey goodnight, going to bed with a monkey, riding a Triceratops,
dressed as Superman.
They just threw like a paper against the wall, and whatever fell out became the video. Right?
Yeah, then it kind of you got this mammal looking thing. You got Rambo in the back.
Perfect.
You've got cameos by Pete Townsend, Tina Turner, Madonna, David Bowie, Bob Dylan, Mick Jagger, Tina Turner, Sting. It goes on and on.
On and on.
He wakes up. Did I say he was riding a Triceratops?
Who wakes up? Ronald Reagan?
Reagan wakes up.
Gotcha.
Nancy Reagan is wearing a snorkel.
Perfect.
Because he's in a pool of his own sweat.
I think the Reagans are just they were into some weird stuff.
I don't know.
Right.
He goes to push a button. The nurse, he's got two buttons, nurse or nuke.
Of course. And
he accidentally pushes the nuke button.
Of course.
And his ending line is, "That's one heck of a nurse."
It is. It's just a powerful message by Genesis, is it?
It was Genesis. Yeah.
Powerful message.
Heavy. It was heavy airplay. It got one short, the short-lived Grammy Award for Best Concept Video.
Yeah.
It had a remake by the band Disturbed in 2006.
Yeah, that was actually better, I think.
Yeah, and so some things I read that their commentary on it is it's still applicable. Still applicable today. So
sure.
My daughter, my 5th grade daughter, watched it with me, and her quote was, "This is really confusing. How do you keep up?"
Well, the song is called Land of Confusion.
Yeah.
So maybe that was the intent.
Maybe they're just blitz you with confusing.
Or she's just smarter than the rest of us and go, "This is dumb. Yeah. What are we doing right here?"
I don't know. So that is my number 6. Land of Confusion.
Land of Confusion.
Yeah.
Well, I'm confused. But I'm not confused about my number 6. It is Once Bitten, Twice Shy by Great White.
I thought for sure we'd have some overlap. We are on the
So why did I pick this video? Well, one, it's a kick-ass rock song. And any rock song that starts with a sweet piano solo is pretty much everything you need in life. So this song goes right into the piano to begin with, and you're already like, yep, I'm in. This video sums up every 80s hairband video. They're doing an impromptu concert in a warehouse. The roadies are moving equipment around while they're playing and watching the show. Their groupie girlfriends are smiling at them during the jam session, but then, of course, join in as backup vocals. It's fantastic and screams 80s rock. Oh, and Bobby Brown's in the video. And no, not Don't Be Cruel, Bobby Brown, but the blonde girl from the Cherry Pie video, Bobby Brown.
Oh.
It's got every 80s rock band staple. Motorcycles, leather pants, cowboy hats, and, of course, hair. Hair for days in this video.
You got to do it like Stefan.
It's the best I can. I don't want to steal everything from Stefan, but it is every stereotype of an 80s rock video you can come up with. I'm like, why are they even in this warehouse giving a concert? They ride in on these Harleys, and then they just start singing. And the roadies are like, these two guys are trying to pack the van or the tour bus, and these idiots are on stage singing, and then the blonde bimbos come in, and it's just a whole thing. So
blonde bimbo.
Oh, they just roll right in. So, but yeah, you can't have an 80s video countdown and not have a hairband video. And that's the one I went with because you can watch a lot of hairband videos that are kind of like that one. But to me, that epitomizes a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And I love that song. So,
golly. Yeah, that I don't know that I can pull it up. The song I remember, but I don't know if I can pull up the video.
When we're done, you should watch that video. Oh, it's fantastic. Like you smile from ear to ear, start to finish.
Oh,
I mean, and the sweet piano solo. I mean, I can't get past
great
it.
80s.
I would love to have been there when they're writing that
Piano
song
solo.
and they're like, look, we got guitars, we got drums, we got all that. You know what we need to start this song with? A piano solo. And I mean, that dude goes in, you watch him in the video and he's like, ding, 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 ding.
And
Perfect.
you said it had concert footage.
No, there's no concert footage.
No,
No,
okay.
no.
But they're on stage here.
They're not on a stage. They're just on the floor of a warehouse.
Oh.
And the roadies are trying to pack the tour bus because I guess they're leaving for a tour.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, screw this, we're just going to sing. And then the girls show up and it just becomes a whole event.
Oh, yeah. The song's coming to me. Absolutely know the song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should know the song. Once
It's a
bitten,
good-
twice shy,
Oh,
babe.
yeah.
Come on.
That's right. Not and
Guess we'll add that to the list.
All right, my number 5 is
Number 5.
Dire Straits' Money for Nothing.
Of course. This is everybody's top
I know.
video.
My list is kind of obvious. You're doing good. You're picking some more obscure. I kind of went obvious on my list. So it's
I've got a couple coming up that are obvious ones too, but yeah, I picked the ones that I thought were fun from when I was younger.
and this is one I remember. The video is a short. It is shot from the perspective of 2 working class men. They work for a custom kitchen delivery service. They come across the MTV blaring on the client's television. They start commenting on the music videos and that they see while they're hauling microwaves and refrigerators. And they're kind of cut off, like, man, these rock stars, they play the guitar on their MTV,
On the MTV.
and they're money for nothing, and they're chicks for free.
I always wonder when they wrote that song, they wrote with the intent that we want to be on MTV. So maybe if we drop MTV into the lyrics, and of course they got the funky, was that CGI? Is that what they're trying to do? Or it's a
it was
computer?
some of the first CGI stuff, but kind of interesting. That phrase about MTV was directed towards was a shot across the bow at MTV.
No, okay.
Because of the boy bands, the glam bands. He was very Mark Knopfler, silent P, silent K, just so you know.
That's how you should spell
you say
it.
Knopfler.
Yes.
He was a anti-video guy. He was kind of an old school guitar rock guy, and he did not see the point in
So
videos.
he was an anti-success guy.
Yes. It's got stage footage of Dire Straits. They use a thing called rotoscoping, which
Okay.
is that animation where they do the animation over the film. It was the first video to be aired on MTV Europe.
Okay.
It was co-written with Sting.
Oh.
Yeah, didn't know that. He's actually in it. You hear him sing "I Want My MTV." That's
Oh yeah,
Sting's
yeah.
voice. Yeah,
you
yeah.
hear that.
It was nominated 11 times at the 1986 Music Awards. Won Video of the Year. Some of the early CGI stuff. So
I would again put that on my overrated. Like everybody thought that was this groundbreaking video. I just thought, and I don't really even like the song that much.
Yeah.
Like I will fully admit that on most people's 80s song list, that's one of those go-tos, but I just don't. I was never a huge Dire Straits fan. So, but
no, I just
solid
remember.
choice.
I remember that one playing on the.
It played all the
screen.
time.
That was very iconic.
So, yeah.
Kind of, but
I almost stayed away from that just because
it was too obvious.
too easy.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a couple too easy, so I can't toot my horn too much. But my number 5 is, this is a good one. You're gonna like it. California Girls by David Lee Roth. So
Great one.
So the opening shot of this video has a quote on the screen that says this: "Thank God for little girls and some of the other sizes too." So I just laughed a lot when I saw that. A little creepy, right? Creepy now, but funny in the 80s.
He gets canceled now.
That doesn't go anywhere. So, but why did I choose this video? Well, one, I thought David Lee Roth was super cool when I was a kid, and it starts with a voiceover like the Twilight Zone. So that was pretty awesome because they're on a bus going to this, and David Lee Roth is like the tour guide. But I'll make the rest of this real easy. The rest of the video is Diamond Dave dancing and singing around girls in bikinis. Endless girls in bikinis. As a young boy growing up at this time, I never missed this video on MTV. I thought it was about the greatest thing I saw at one point. I mean, it's just a video full of girls in bikinis. This was the closest thing you could get to a half-naked girl outside of USA's Up All Night, right? So I was...
Oh my gosh, I haven't heard
all
about
in.
USA Up All Night in forever.
I was all in on Diamond
Wow.
Dave, just walking. Remember, he has his hat on and he lifts it up when he looks like in the girl's chest and he's like, woo. I mean, to me, it's a classic, iconic video. And again, at that age, it was hitting a lot of the right buttons.
Yeah.
So
No, that's a good one.
I remember I would watch that
one.
video too, carefully in the family room because my mom saw it. She didn't like it.
Yeah.
She goes, "Is that on TV?" She would get very upset about it, but that's okay. I liked the bikinis.
Yeah.
It gave me that. It gave me a tingle. It's the best way I can describe it. So.
I have nothing to say to that.
Nothing.
Number 4.
You don't want to know any more about my tingle?
Don't want to
no more
talk
about
your tingle.
All right, fine.
Number 4 is Sledgehammer, Peter Gabriel. Super obvious.
So again, at this point, you just pulled up what are the 10 best videos from the 80s?
That's not what I
Google
did.
says this.
I went off of what I remembered being on MTV at the time.
I got you.
I'm not even saying I like the song, but the videos.
Peter Gabriel is weird.
It was weird.
I just thought he was weird.
Yeah, but here's what I found out about this song that I thought was so. Anyway, video featured. It's got claymation, pixelation, stop motion animation. It's got this really weird, herky jerky kind of motion to it.
Herky jerky.
Yeah, it was weird. Here's what I found interesting about this song. I've always wondered what it was about. I stumbled across an article that it was the song was about sex. 100%. 100%. And I was like, what? But sledgehammer, steam trains, big dippers, you could have a bumper car bumping. He mentions a fruit cage several times, and then he's a honeybee.
Honeybee.
You could have a steam train, he sings, as a train puffs around his head in a pleasing fashion. If you just lay down your tracks.
Oh, yeah. Starts to come into focus.
Yeah.
But
It opens with a image of, like a microscopic image of sperm.
Oh.
So
Perfect.
I don't know. And then it goes on all these different
kind
of innuendos.
I would say at our age when this came out, obviously we wouldn't have picked up on most of that.
No, I didn't pick up on that until I was reading about this song.
Yeah.
But it record number of awards for video. It's on everybody's list for, best videos ever.
Including yours.
Yeah. Nominated for the best music video, first annual Soul Train Music Award.
Soul Train.
Yeah.
I don't see that as a Soul Train song, but all right.
Yeah, it ranked at number 4 on MTV's 100 Greatest Music Videos Ever Made.
There you go.
There's a dancing chicken scene. Yeah, 2 chickens dance. And that was done by Nick Park. And if you know who he is, he did, if you're familiar with Wallace and Gromit.
I mean, I know what that is, but I'm not that familiar.
Yeah, so he did that as some of his earliest work. And he's got some stuff that was nominated for Academy Awards. So anyway.
Well, every time we record this, you always think, what could I hear today? And we got our first ever Wallace and Gromit shout out. So I wasn't expecting that. Wallace and Gromit. Wasn't that a claymation dog and some guy? It's British. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Wallace and Gromit. Beautiful. Well, my number 4 is not as cool maybe as Sledgehammer. And I don't know if it's talking all the way about sex, but it is one of those videos that's just on every list, and it's Take On Me by Aha. So this seems like an easy one. I didn't stray too far from what are the best videos. This cutting-edge video mixing black and white cartoons with real life. No one had seen much of that before. This being one of the best songs of the 80s also makes it very memorable. There's some odd imagery, though, in this. You got race car drivers chasing a 50s greaser type with wrenches because I think he beat them in the race, so maybe they're just poor sports. 2 things, though. 1, his band sucks. He's being chased and beat up in front of them, and they just keep playing and singing and smiling the whole time like nothing's going on.
You got this, buddy.
And B, it has one of the best keyboard solos you're ever going to hear. I mean, it just goes... It goes in good on that keyboard. Yeah. This is my second keyboard mention in this. Survivor also had a great keyboard moment.
Okay.
I like keyboards, it turns out. So,
it wasn't a keytar.
It was not a keytar. I don't think he was.
I came across
standing
a
up.
Great keytar on Facebook Marketplace that I thought we should hang. In the studio.
You should play it. That's what should happen. And while you're wearing a piano key necktie, that would really send it right over the top. Yes. So yeah, Take On Me by Aha.
No, good one. That's a good one. Okay, so my number 3, obvious. This is probably the most obvious one on the list.
Oh my goodness.
Thriller.
Thriller.
Michael Jackson.
It came in at number 3, huh?
Yeah, because I remember this video, but yeah,
Everyone
I don't know.
remembers this
Everybody
video.
knows this
You
video.
don't have to say ever.
Yeah.
I remember Thriller. Yeah, every human alive remembers Thriller.
It's the number one selling album of all time.
Of course.
Somewhere in here, they were selling like a million albums a week.
Yeah.
It was some crazy thing like that. But yeah, this transformed music videos. It kind of shot music videos into kind of becoming a regular thing.
Yep, stratosphere. Well, it made it so that the videos were an event and not just the band singing.
Yes.
That's what it did.
Yeah. It's the Library of Congress declared it the most famous music video of all time.
Most famous.
It had a $900,000 budget back in '83.
That's a lot.
A lot. Interesting fun fact. Jennifer Beal
Yeah.
turned down the offer to play Jackson's girlfriend.
Oh, she was busy with Flashdance. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know if those came out the same year.
Anyway.
She was in Flash.
No, was she in Flash?
Here we go.
No, boy.
You don't know Flashdance
Don't
either?
shut down on me.
I'm not
because
shutting
you're
down.
mad at me.
Do you not know Flashdance? Do you want to admit that out loud? She's a welder.
I know.
She's a welder trying to be a dancer.
I know of it.
There's some famous songs in that. What a Feeling. Keep Believing.
I didn't.
Maniac?
The Maniac. I know Tommy Boy does the.
Yeah, but that's not. Yeah, they redo it, but
Okay.
that's from that one. Okay.
No, tons of awards.
Tons of awards.
Gosh, I don't. Yeah, it's great. It's a good video.
It's a tough pick. I know you had to labor over thinking about that one. So, but
Yeah,
you can.
I'm not even gonna. The jacket sold for $1.8 million at an auction.
Which
in
jacket?
The red and black.
jacket? Oh, yeah. Everyone loved that jacket.
Yeah, so that's my number 3.
All right. Well, my number 3 is not as high esteem as Thriller. It is The Safety Dance by Men Without Hats.
I knew you were going to get that in there.
Oh, man.
That has a little person in it.
What a video. This shows that in the 80s, if you had a good song, you could just do whatever you wanted in a video, and no one even batted an eye. They didn't even care. This video is just things thrown at the wall, and the result is what looks like a Renaissance fair with little people, as you said, playing little guitars.
I think that's
There
the right
seems
way
to
say
be a
this.
wench singing backup vocals.
A wench.
I'm pretty sure they filmed this in the Shire where Frodo lived in Lord of the Rings. By the way, looking back at it, the Safety Dance as a dance on its own is utter nonsense. But it's the 80s, so you could dance like that. And everybody's like, yeah, that's cool. But it's a great song and a classic video.
What is the safety dance?
It's just a lot of spinning around in a circle, putting your arms in the air. It's not complicated in any capacity, so everyone could do it. It is.
I could do that.
It is white guy proof. All right, so it doesn't take a lot of shoulders. You don't have to give a lot of that upper lip type thing. You can just do the safety dance. But I think you have to go to a Renaissance fair because that's what it looked like in the video. So that video is great. I mean, it's very entertaining from start to finish. It has no point and no sense, and that's kind of what the 80s were.
And I remember it being medieval, and they're kind of medieval times running through villages and
Again, I'd love to be there when they, hey guys, this
thatched
is
roofs, housing. And stuff.
before we film, guys. This is kind of the direction we think we're going to go in. Yeah, that sounds good. I want the wench over there. Make sure she can be heard. Okay, thanks. So yeah, safety dance.
Okay, yeah, I should have predicted that one. But.
Predict.
All right, my number 2, you've already said it, is "Take on Me" by Aha.
Oh yeah,
I like that video.
everyone
like
likes
it a lot.
It's a good video.
I don't know what else to say that you haven't already said. What I will add, he is being chased by some nefarious gentlemen
Nefarious with wrenches,
with wrenches,
and they're wearing helmets.
To be specific, it's a motorcycle sidecar racing event.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's a racing event.
Yeah.
But they're just chasing him because he won the race, I think. Are they mad?
I don't know why. And then they break the looking glass or whatever with the wrench. But
Very dramatic.
also used rotoscoping, as mentioned.
You know, when we started this podcast, if you told me all the things we'd mentioned multiple times on an episode, rotoscoping would not have been my first choice. But very technical. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some engineers listening to our show. They're like, how do they know about rotoscoping? Finally, it got in.
Golly. Rotoscoping, in which the live action footage is traced using frame by frame process. It took 16 weeks to complete that. Well,
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's the 80s. It took a long time to do anything.
Here's something. The music video has received more than 1.6 billion views on YouTube.
Yeah.
Only 4 songs from the 20th century have done this. November Rain,
Yeah.
Sweet Child O' Mine,
2 for 2.
Smells Like Teen Spirit,
3 for 3.
and Bohemian Rhapsody.
4 for 4. So that's about the best 4 set of songs you could be with in your life.
I mean, it is in there with big company.
Big company.
Yeah, and it won a ton of videos and awards. And I had to do a little. It's the first video to be made into a literal music video. I had to research that. I didn't quite understand what it was. But
Yeah, I don't know
anyway. Yeah, so there you go.
You know, for
My
not
number 2.
knowing what else you could say about what I already said, you said quite a bit.
Hey.
So apparently I didn't know everything I thought I knew.
Yeah.
No. Well, my number 2, so that was our first crossover. Number 2, we're going to cross again because I also went with Hungry Like the Wolf.
Wow.
From Duran Duran.
It was up high on your list.
Well, I like Duran. I like it because I liked videos in the 80s that were like mini movies, and Duran Duran was good at that. So, and it made it like an event to watch those. In fact, I remember on MTV, they would televise and say, hey, Friday we're going to premiere X video. And then you tune in at like 7 o'clock, and the first 20 minutes is them talking about how they made the video, how cool it is, and then you wait that whole time, and then you get that last 5 minutes, and you actually get to watch the video. But again, you mentioned the whole video. You talked about it. I just had some questions. I need the rest of that movie. I mean, does he get out of the jungle? Does he make out with the lady in the jungle? I just need more info. Like, I don't know what happened. And his bandmates are awful. They're not making an effort to find him. They just let him wander off.
Yeah.
It's like The Hangover 2 is really what it looks like. So maybe that was their inspiration for the movie. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, really good song. Really good band.
Yeah.
Nothing screams 80s like Duran Duran, I think.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I chuckled at when they're running through the villages of Sri Lanka trying to find him. And
Sri Lanka.
And then they
get
distracted by the ladies of the night.
At this point, you just want to go Sri Lanka.
I like saying it.
I've noticed that.
Sri Lanka.
It's very okay.
Yeah, it's very
it rolls off the tongue.
Exotic.
It is exotic.
Yeah. All right.
Well, before we reveal our number ones, we like to do a fun segment we call the Cut Line. For this segment, we will each identify 2 videos that just fell out of our top 10. We will then also identify an honorable mention that was a video we didn't appreciate in the time, but realize now how great it was. So, Rob, what is your first cut?
So my first cut, this is one that is a little less known.
Predictable?
But, not as obvious. One, I Think of You by Janet Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember this one.
I don't even, I can't even recall that video.
Yeah, so this is, it's kind of she's dancing through a neighborhood.
Okay.
And it's almost like they've tried to film it like it's one cut kind of thing. So the camera's backing up and she's walking at the camera and she's dancing through the streets. And there's a mysterious man who keeps coming up from behind and whispering in her ear and then vanishes into the crowd. And, and it was made, let's see, it uses the video was the remix, apparently. I don't know. But yeah, I just remember this very colorful. It kind of looks like maybe it was like supposed to be like a Harlem-ish type downtown scene, and she's dancing into the camera. And I remember this one being on all the time.
Nice. I have no remembrance of that video.
No.
So, but I've mentioned before, Janet Jackson's not my favorite couple songs I like, and particularly in the 80s. I mean, I knew her songs, but the one where she says, Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. What's that, Nasty Girl or whatever it's called? Anyway, so I'm sure it's a great video.
Yeah.
I will, maybe I'll check it out later.
And I had a bit of a crush on Janet Jackson. She was
Perfect.
She was looking good back then.
She was.
Yeah.
She was looking good.
She had the big hair.
Yeah.
She had the big hair. And,
I liked her in the 90s though too. From a look standpoint.
That's my cut.
We're very superficial at this point. From a look standpoint, we loved her.
Oh yeah.
Let's not be superficial. No. But we can't. Well, my first cut is it's a very simple video, but it's effective and I like it and it's memorable, and it's You Can Call Me Al by Paul Simon. It's an odd video. Chevy Chase is in it and he's lip syncing. They randomly dance. He's pretending to play the trumpet. Like I said, it's a real simple shot. It's in one room. There's not much to it, but physical comedy wise, Chevy Chase is doing a great job here. It makes me laugh, and the song is very catchy. It does the da 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 da. Anyway, so You Can Call Me Al.
Blows the trombone in his face.
All of it, yes.
And the juxtaposition between how tall he is and short.
Yeah. And, Paul Simon's like 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
It's in, but yeah. Good
that's a good
video.
one.
I
I
think,
love it.
yeah, memorable video.
I looked at that one actually. But my cut number 2 is surprisingly, this would make a lot of number ones, I think. But
Oh.
it's Rocket by Herbie Hancock.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, very
That's
strange.
It's an odd video.
So strange. Features robot-like movable sculptures, dancing, spinning, and walking in time in this kind of house, this virtual house. It won a bunch of awards. He's in it. Kind of appears as kind of a image on a screen. Yeah, won some like innovation awards and best art direction. But super. I was reading some of my favorite things. Was reading YouTube comments.
Yeah.
And people were just like, "Thanks for the nightmares." And
it's a weird video.
and it was weird then, and I watch it now, and it's still weird.
I think when I think about Herbie Hancock now, I think about Tommy Boy when he goes, David Spade says, "Can I get your John Hancock on this?" And he goes, "John Hancock?
Okay.
You mean Herbie Hancock?"
I have to tell you this. Okay,
Doy.
this was not in my notes, but now that you bring that up, so being in education, we have things called IEPs, individual education plans for students, and the SPED teacher will need an administrator's signature, and every time they come to my office, they go, "I need your signature," and I will say, "You need my Herbie Hancock?"
Yep.
And I can always kind of tell who's in the know because they'll go, "Oh, Tommy Boy."
To be fair,
every time I go, Herbie Hancock.
Herbie Hancock. To be fair, if you didn't say Herbie Hancock, you should be fired immediately.
Every time
If you can't have fun with that, then you shouldn't be there.
There was one gal who was a speech teacher, and she knew it, she got it, and she would say it back, But everybody else kind of looks at me side-eyed, But I go,
"You got the side eye."
Yeah.
Well, teachers are ruthless. You guys love to give each other side eyes. So, well, my other cut is one you already mentioned, and it's Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel.
Okay.
Not a lot more to say than you already said. I'll say this. If you're interested in some sensory overload, go hit up the YouTube and plug in some Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer, and you'll see some things that make it weird, and you'll feel weird after you watch it. And now that you've described it sexually, it makes it a little weirder.
Yeah,
so, have a good time with that one.
I will say that there's the scene where he's like against a, I think it's supposed to be a blackboard, like a chalkboard.
Yeah.
And he's doing the roller coaster, and he's going back and forth, and the work that would have gone into that to make that is pretty impressive.
It is,
because they did his hair and stuff, and
it
was all stop motion, and so that would have taken time.
What would have taken the most work is that dancing chicken. That is just
it was 2 dancing chickens. That was great.
It's just dancing, and not like an actual chicken. It's a chicken like you'd buy at the grocery store.
Oh yeah, they're uncooked,
uncooked chicken. Yeah. All right. Well, what is your honorable mention?
Okay, so my honorable mention was Robert Palmer,
Addicted to the girls.
Yeah, the dancing, and it's kind of like it's become kind of its own iconic thing with the girls. Like who was it? Shania Twain kind of remade it from the female version and had guys dancing in the background. But
if you've seen Love Actually, when he makes his song for the Christmas song, they do the same thing.
Yeah, so that whole that image of him in the white shirt and just all that's very iconic.
80s.
That's an iconic scene.
Screams 80s.
And people actually probably remember the video before they remember the song. That video made that song. So anyway.
Yeah, I think that's one of those. I think without the video, that song's not as popular on the radio. Because the song's okay.
It's great. It's okay.
But as soon as you hear it, you remember the video.
Yep.
So
well,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
My honorable mention is "Got My Mind Set on You" by George Harrison.
Oh,
so simple concept here. He's sitting in a chair.
I forgot about it.
Yeah, he's sitting in a chair singing. However, everything in the room is moving.
Yes.
The dead animals are also singing along.
Yeah.
Again, I've said this before, but I would have just loved to have been in the production meeting room when they're like, "Hey, George, this is the idea we have." I mean, he's a former Beatle, for goodness sake, and we're going to have a deer sing along with you while you do this song. And he's like, "Yeah, that's fine."
Yeah.
So all I can imagine is he must have made a crap ton of money off this or something. So, but yeah, "Got My Mind Set on You." Can't go wrong with a Beatle.
No, that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good one. I remember that one. I remember my dad, that was music our parents.
It's a catchy song though.
Because former Beatle,
My mind set.
And right up there with the Traveling Wilburys.
There's also a chipmunk singing in that thing, so can't go wrong. What's your number one?
Oh, my number one. All right. My number one is Don't Come Around Here No More. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Oh, yeah. The Alice in Wonderland video.
And not because I like Tom Petty, but that video.
It's a weird video.
It was nightmare inducing. Yeah. I felt like it was kind of scary. But Alice in Wonderland themed. The Eurythmics, Dave Stewart appears as the caterpillar.
Yeah.
Tom Petty is the Mad Hatter. She eats a piece of cake given to her by the caterpillar. Kind of goes into this black and white checkered world.
Yeah.
Kind of bizarre things happen.
It's a weird video.
And it culminates with her being turned into a cake and she's eaten.
I know.
Everybody takes turns eating her.
Yeah.
And then the video ends with Petty swallowing her whole.
Yeah.
And then giving a little burp before he dabs his mouth with a little napkin. So
an interesting concept.
Some fun facts. It was cited for promoting cannibalism by a specific parent.
But she's a cake.
Teacher
he
group.
didn't eat her, actually.
I don't know. And originally, the creators had put strawberry jam as a filling so that when Tom, that it would look like kind of a slasher deal.
That makes sense.
It was nominated for a bunch of awards. Here's another thing. When it was put out, it was very controversial, but the part that was edited out was the burp.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't edit out the cutting part. It was the burp.
It's a little gross.
Yeah, and I learned that they only had one chance to do that scene because they only made one cake.
One cake.
That was it.
No way they could have made another cake.
Yeah.
That would have broke the budget.
Yeah.
Tom said no.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my number one.
Number one.
I remember that video very well.
Very well.
Yeah.
So. Well, my number one is... I took the easy route, and Thriller, because it's the number one video of the 80s.
All time.
It's a no-brainer. Video was an event, like they played it every year before Halloween. I liked, again, it's a movie within a video. You got Vincent Price doing some voiceover, dancing zombies. There's a second movie where Michael Jackson's a werewolf. That's it's pretty much a masterpiece of a music video, and the Thriller dance has been imitated and copied for 40 years. And by the way, those zombies are the most fabulous backup dancers I've ever seen in my life.
In my notes, I forgot to say this. Did you know he's not in that kind of movie within a movie? He's not a werewolf.
I mean, it looks like a werewolf.
He's a werecat.
Okay.
For all these years, I thought it was a werewolf. He's a werecat.
He's a werewolf.
It's a werecat.
That's not even a word, werecat. Who came up with that?
I don't know.
That person's fired.
Yeah, he's a werecat.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a classic video, so I mean, you can't go wrong with that. So, so we had a few crossovers, like we like to do. I mean, they were obvious videos. It was hard to leave that off. I mean, how can you have a top video countdown and leave Thriller off? I don't understand how you would, but I'm sure somebody would. So that'd be up to them. A couple others, you mentioned a few of them, but Whip It from Devo was a pretty interesting video.
Whip It. Yeah.
Opposites Attract, which we've talked about on the show before, pretty classic video. I could name a bunch of hairband videos that I like too, but yeah, and I will say Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles, which was the first video on MTV ever played. Okay. It's a pretty interesting video as well, considering they didn't know how to make a video back then. So
Bon Jovi had some, they had a lot of the classic concert videos.
Yeah. Well, they're a hair band. What are you going to do? Yeah. Well, the topic for this episode was suggested to me and you by my oldest son. He sent me his number one music video of the 80s, and it was also Dire Straits, but it is Walk of Life. This song is...
Which one is that?
So he loves it because it's chock full of professional sports highlights from like the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah. And he really liked, they showed a random Mariners player from the 80s, which he researched forever and could not find the name of that person. So it just must have been a rando. But of course, the Mariners are his favorite team. So he thought it was cool that in all the sports highlights, they had an actual Mariner in there. So, but yeah, that's his number one, Walk of Life.
That's a good one. I remember that one.
Yeah, he did a lot of research on it. He wanted me to let everyone know. He did a lot of research to get to that video. But yeah. If I was going to pick a Dire Straits video, I agree with him on that. I like that one better than Money for Nothing.
Okay, I like it. The other great sports one in the 80s was John Fogerty, Put Me in Coach.
Yeah, Put Me in Coach.
Had a lot of, same thing, a lot of sports montage.
Yeah, tons of sports montage. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Totally 80s and 90s Recall. We hope you've enjoyed reliving our favorite music videos of the 1980s. If you like this podcast, please hit that subscribe button and share it with a friend. And head on over to Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts and leave us feedback and 5 stars. That'll only help the show grow. What did we get right or wrong, or did we miss something altogether? Leave us a message on Instagram, Twitter, or our website, which are all included in the show notes. You can also email us at 80s90srecall@gmail.com with comments or show ideas you may want to hear in the future. Any emails we get may get read on an upcoming episode.
So what are we doing next time? What's our homework?
So next time we are doing something fun. It's we're going to do some songs from the 90s that we think the other person will like. So you have to form a top 10 list of songs chosen for the other person.
So I'm picking your top 10.
You're picking my what you think my top 10 would be. And I'm picking what I think your top 10 would be. And so basically this is a test to see how well we know each other and how well we know each other's taste in music.
Okay.
That's it.
I can do that.
Think you can handle that?
I can do that.
All right. Well, you got anything else?
I have nothing else.
Fancy goodbye?
No fancy goodbye.
No.